Hi there everyone, Lars here with a special anime live action review and recommendation. This is a new one for us. Brought to you by Camille's Harem. Not just a podcast for novice writers by novice writers, but also a YouTube channel by novice writers for novice writers. Because writing is an adventure, it's more fun with friends. And I'm going to talk about One Piece. It might seem a little bit late. I think the craze over the live-action remake, or adaptation, I should say, has kind of died down a little bit, but I had the chance to sit down to binge it, and it was a whole lot of fun. And that's saying something, considering that I'm a guy who does not like One Piece. And saying that, especially after having watched this first season, I think that this show was not only made for fans of One Piece, but was made for people like me who had no intention of ever watching the anime or reading the manga. Now then, let me clarify some things right here. So, Gigguk. Yes, we're going to go on over to this guy right here. He did a video some years back about falling in love and falling out of love with anime. Absolutely spot on, 100% accurate. I have fallen in love with anime, and I have fallen out of love with anime. And when I fell back in love with anime again, it was thanks to Bleach. This is one of the reasons why Bleach is one of my favorite anime of all time, because it's the one that brought me back. After binging Bleach in one summer, all of it, I was like, at least up until that point, because the 1,000-Year Blood War arc had not yet begun, I was like, I need more. And people were telling me, try out One Piece. So I did. And it just didn't click with me. And since everyone was telling me I needed to read it and I needed to watch it, I was like, okay. So we've got Luffy, the leader of the Straw Hat Pirates, who is out to find the One Piece. Correct? Yes, that's correct. All right. I have seen just how many episodes and chapters there are to this story right here. So I need to know, in terms of plot progression, are we actually getting to the One Piece? Because as far as I've seen, it seems like we're just going all over the place. And like, no, we're not getting to the One Piece. Okay, so why is it called One Piece? Because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get to the One Piece. But you just told me that they're not getting to the One Piece. No, they're not. Okay. You've caught up with the series, right? Yes, we have. Okay. What are they right now doing? I don't need much in the way of spoilers. I just need to know what are the Straw Hat Pirates right now trying to do? They're trying to get stronger. Awesome. For what reason? To go through the Grand Line. Brilliant. Why do they want to go through the Grand Line? To get to the One Piece? No. Why? To explore the world. Okay, because they want to explore the world. No, because they want to find the One Piece. What are you talking about? I swear, the fans of One Piece are actually more so the reason why I've not gotten into this series, more so than the length of the series itself. Because I wanted to know, it wasn't clicking with me despite all of the recommendations, and that's totally fine if someone's recommendations don't click with you. But I wanted to know, I didn't just want to write it off as something that I didn't like, and and there was no explanation given, no direction given. I have tried a couple of times to get into One Piece, and it just never worked. So I completely wrote it off. And then when all of the positive reviews were coming in for the live-action adaptation, I was like, no way Jose does this work. I'm going to watch this to prove you all wrong. And I was proven wrong. It is a great show. Holy cow, it took out all of the annoyingness that just didn't work with me. It condensed the story, condensed the character arcs to something that really worked for me. It made sense. And some of the parts that I did like from the anime and manga made it through into the story with beautiful clarity. And it just works really well. The combination of practical effects with digital effects was fantastic. And I love that we got way more practical effects within this story, and just how much it embraced the weirdness of Oda's One Piece universe, that it just worked really, really well. This is an unabashed love letter to the story, but done in such a way that people who are not mega fans of the manga or anime can sit down, watch it, consume it, enjoy it, and understand what is going on, and even be excited for the next season, which I now really want. Dare I say that this live-action adaptation makes me want to revisit One Piece? Oh boy, what's going on here? Suffice it to say, in the simplest of terms, yeah, this show works. And I know that all of this stuff is actually in the manga and anime, but as just a quick little review, I really liked how we got right into Luffy's story. Why he is the way that he is, who he is, what actually motivates him. It made more sense to me. It clicked with me way better in this live action adaptation than it did in the anime. And I don't really know how to explain it other than that it was just very well condensed and paired off really well with all of the other pirates and characters around him, and also in a very brilliant way juxtaposed with the adventures of the Marines and his grandfather, Vice Admiral Garp. And ultimately, kudos to the actors who sold their characters so well. I recognized who they were. They captured them, I think, pretty well. And especially for Garp, man, I just loved this guy. The actor who played him did a fantastic job. And I loved the conversation between Garp and Zeph, where they're talking about the new generation of pirates, and later on even the new generation of Marines who are going to take over. This is their time now. And how that was then brilliantly juxtaposed with the conversation about dreams. How you can have a dream, but there's a difference between having a dream and living a dream. And that just fit absolutely beautifully. That was something that, yeah, I didn't quite get that message as good, as hard through the manga or anime as I did through the live action adaptation. It just worked really well for me. And I think it also really worked well for me because at the time, I did binge the series as a means of relaxing after going on a writing bender where I was just writing nonstop until I collapsed each day. Oh boy! Writing 6,000 to 7,000 words a day will wreck you, especially if you do that day after day after day. Oh, I needed a break. And why was I doing all that work? Well, because I have a dream of becoming a professional author. And on top of that, I have goals that I need to reach to publish so many books within a year, and not only just publish them, but to actually make them good. Not just crank out a first draft, make it look somewhat pretty, and then publish it like J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay did with Rings of Power, but actually make these books look and read well. And so I was grappling with my dream, trying to make it happen. And everything that I then saw within the series about Luffy encouraging people to fight for their dreams, live their dreams, empowering them to do so, even if it meant really bad stuff would happen to them, even if it means that the road is hard for people like Nami or for Zoro or for Usopp. It was empowering. It was incredibly positive. It was fun. And the action was good, the dialogue was good, the music was fantastic, the set design was great. Everyone knew that they were in an anime adaptation, and they just enjoyed the wackiness of it, from the heroes to the villains. I think the villains were really having a brilliant time just chewing up the scenery, having fun, but also still delivering at times some terrifying performances, some impressive performances, and sometimes just some great mustache twirling villain moments. It all worked really well, and I got to know these characters as we went along. And I just think that this is what live action adaptations should be. Understanding who the characters are, understanding their motivations, understanding the most important moments that build up these characters and push the plot along, and making sure that those are adapted in the spirit that is most accurate to what the source material is. In this case, since they're adapting an anime and a manga that is completely bonkers and bizarre, they delved into that. They reveled in that spirit of just the zaniness of the world and characters of One Piece, and by doing that, it worked. Was it the most faithful adaptation of all time? Was it the most accurate of all time? Did it completely blow us away from every single moment, or perfectly capture some of the big moments? Not 100%, but that's okay because it still did its job. I, as someone who doesn't like One Piece, or at one point didn't like One Piece, I came to like these characters. I became invested in their story. I became invested in this world. After years of rejecting One Piece because it just did not click with me, and being kind of a little pushed away by some of the really rabid fans who couldn't either because they themselves didn't really know, or maybe their passion just carried them too far, that they weren't able to properly convey to me what makes One Piece so great. I kept the story at arm's length and more for a very long time, and thanks to this live-action adaptation, I now can say that I enjoy One Piece. I at least like the live-action version, and I can now respect better the characters and the story as far as I know them, and I can give a tip of the hat to Oda for saying, you know what, it's not just something that you capitalized on, this is at its heart a great story, and I can now understand why it's one of the most popular manga of all time, and why there's so many people around the world who enjoy it. And if the live-action remake can do that for someone who is a non-believer like me, if you haven't yet watched it, I think it's going to do some good things for you. So that is my review and recommendation, trying to not hit all of the different spoiler points if you haven't seen it, and if you have read or seen the story before, you already know what you're getting yourself into, and it is a great ride. I definitely give it 2 thumbs way up, and I've tried since seeing it to convert other skeptics to watching One Piece as well, because it was a fun watch. But with all of that being said, what writing advice can we novice authors pull out of this live action adaptation? The key to any good story is understanding who your characters are, what they are doing, the world that they are in, and communicating that with a sense of brevity. When I say that, I mean that we need to understand pretty quickly who these characters are, and we need to be well established within the world pretty much from the get-go. However, the real fun is showing us that world and showing us the development of those characters. You don't need to cram all the character progression into one chapter, nor should you cram all of the world building into one chapter either. Instead, you need to capture us with who these characters are, with their personalities, and then show us more of who they are through their trials, through the different issues within the plot, through the relationships that they have with other characters. And that really carries the story, and that carries us from place to place within the world, so that way we can understand the different islands, the oceans, the buildings, the politics, the religions, the economy, the magic, whatever of the world that you want us to know is communicated through the experiences of your characters. This is why Nathan has said so often before, and why I keep on parroting it, that a story lives or dies by its characters. And the live-action adaptation for One Piece absolutely nailed who these characters were and conveyed it to me in a very good, concise way that I could say, that's Luffy. Okay, and I kind of like this scrappy kid. And then I learn more about his story as the plot goes on, and I say, not only do I now like this kid, I am rooting for this kid. And now I'm invested, and now I want to know more about his adventures and where that takes me within this world. And that is why it works so well. So the best writing advice that I can give based off of this review is that you need to make sure that you know who your characters are, you know the world, and when you introduce it with concise brevity. Capture the audience's attention with a good, fantastic description of your character, showing us a bit of who they are. Let us then, after that, learn who they are through their actions and through the progression of the plot. If you do that, you will reel in your audience for a fantastic ride. So that is my writing advice. That is my recommendation for the One Piece live adaptation, live action adaptation. Tripping over my words here at the end. Blah, 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 blah. Well, with all that being said, thank you so much for joining us on this fantastic adventure that we call writing. And until the next video, y'all, tschüss.